So in this presentation, I'm going to be sharing with you guys 3 reasons why Python is eating the world. The first reason is beginner adoption. And I'm going to talk about why Python is the best programming language for education. Reason number 2 is company demand. So I'm going to talk about why demand for Python programmers by employers is going to continue to rise. And reason number 3 is community. So I'm going to be talking about why Python has a unique community that keeps developers around. Okay, so reason number 1 is beginner adoption. So Python is the best first programming language for beginners. As I said earlier, when I tried to learn Java in school, I just didn't understand anything that was happening. I found it very difficult to learn, and now I understand why, now that I teach programming. So the reason why Python is the best first programming language for beginners is because it's simple to understand. There's many different paths that you can take as a Python developer. Python developers get paid very well, and Python is great for freelancing. Most new programmers really struggle with what programming language to start with. And I completely understand why. It's really intimidating. You know, you've got Python, JavaScript, Ruby, C, C++, Swift, PHP. I mean, it's a nightmare for beginners to even try to sort through all of that information and determine where the best place to start is. And one problem is that the conventional wisdom and what's often taught in schools is to start with a low-level programming language like C or Java. And starting with Python over C or Java can actually make the difference between success and failure when you're learning how to program. And this is something I see all the time when I'm teaching people how to program. And so if you ever need to convince someone who is learning how to program or show them why Python is so much better to start with than Java, what I usually do is just teach them to write their first program, right? I teach them Hello World, which of course is the traditional first program that you teach a new programmer. So I say, okay, let's go ahead and learn Hello World. And as many of you guys may know, this is how you write Hello World in Java. So it's class, hello world, bracket, public static void, main, paren, string args, bracket, 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 system.out.println, paren, hello world, paren, bracket, semicolon, right? Like it's really complicated. It's pretty hard to explain. In order to explain how hello world works in Java, I have to explain what a class is, and I don't even introduce that concept till halfway through my book. But hello world, of course, in Python is one line of code. It's just print hello world. It's super simple. You can explain it in under 30 seconds. Beginners can intuitively understand it. It just makes sense. And those of you that program already may, I don't know. But what I'm trying to say is, put yourself back in the minds of a beginner. And for beginners, this is usually just mind-blowing because they don't know anything about programming. And when they see that you can print hello world in one statement versus class, hello world, public static void, main, like what is a public static void? What does that mean? Why are there so many things happening here? It's very overwhelming for beginners. So Python is much simpler to understand for a new programmer than Java. And that can make the difference between success and failure when you're learning to program. So, of course, Guido Van Rossum agrees, and he says that he thinks that Python is much easier for new programmers to learn than Java or C or C++. And fortunately, this is starting to change. So, as I said earlier, many universities in the United States start with Java. But it is starting to change. So Stanford recently just got rid of Java as their introductory to programming language. But it's important for us to help spread the word about this so that Python continues to grow as the first language for new programmers. And so many people think that JavaScript is the best first programming language to teach to beginners. And I think JavaScript is a great language, but I don't think it's the best programming language for beginners. And I can explain that in one image, and that's JavaScript, the good parts. So if you're not familiar, it's a book that highlights the good parts of JavaScript. But of course, if there has to be a book that highlights the good parts, then there's a lot of bad parts too. So when I'm teaching new programmers, I don't want to have to explain to them why foo plus bar is foonan. So that's why I think that Python is a better first programming language than JavaScript. And the next thing is that there's many different paths that you can take as a Python developer. So you can go into data science, you can go into web development, you can go into mobile development, and you can pretty much go into any field. A lot of beginners worry too much when they're getting started about what programming path they're going to take. Like, are they going to go into app development or data science or web development? And it's actually really important to just focus on learning programming fundamentals first and not worry so much about what you're going to specialize in. And that's why Python is really great, is because you can go so many different paths. You can just tell beginners, you know what, just focus on learning the fundamentals and think about that stuff later. Python is really valuable, and you can go so many different directions with it. The third reason why Python is the best programming language for beginners is because Python developers get paid very well. So the average salary in the US is $47,000, which is approximately 5 million JPY. Python developers in the United States get paid $123,000, which is 13.3 million JPY. So Python developers in the United States earn more than twice the average person with a college degree. So Python developers get paid really, really well. And in Japan, Python developers get paid really well too, and it's increasing really fast. So as you can see, this chart shows the salary of Python developers in Japan from 2016 to 2019, and as you can see, that is growing really fast. And that's very important when someone's learning to program, just to stay motivated. You know, money's not everything, but it does help to motivate people when they're learning, because it is a long process, to know that you are going to have a lucrative career once you're finished. Okay, so the final reason that Python is the best programming language for beginners is because it's great for freelancing. And so a freelance programmer is a person who does contract work for different companies. And I know there's a lot of people in the audience that are new programmers, and maybe you're thinking about learning to program professionally without a computer science degree. So I'm going to share with you the hack that I used to get hired at eBay without any prior experience and without a degree in computer science. And it was called climbing the freelance ladder. And so I'm going to explain to you very quickly how to do that and why Python is the best programming language to do that with when you're getting started, okay? So I think personally that freelancing is the future. So whether you want to program professionally as a software engineer or freelance, I think freelancing is a great option as well. And actually, the majority of workers are going to be freelance by 2027. So